Back live in the lobby of Grand Hotel, right around from the check-in desk. If you're making your way up here to the island, you can see us in person if you like. We're with Jill Alper, the Democratic strategist, and Ed Sarpolis from Target Insights, who says some new candidate will surface for the Republicans at some time to take on Senator Stabenow, or is this it?
I don't think it's it yet, but there's still soliciting. You're trying to find that one candidate. You got to remember, all the names have been announced. It hasn't caught fire. There isn't this that's our candidate. It's the same thing like in the presidential campaign. Other than Governor Romney, there isn't that candidate that sticks out. That's the person we want to run with.
Somebody mentioned Frank Beckman's name yesterday. Have you heard
Frank
that?
Beckman has always been mentioned.
Has he?
He's a man of his own mind. So.
Speaking of Mitt Romney, who spent lots of time on this island, of course, when his father was governor, he's going to announce today that, it's no secret he's running for president. I would say, wouldn't you, he's the front runner right now?
I would say that he is. What's amazing to the fact is I was quite surprised to hear that our ex-Secretary of State, Terry Land, said it's not a guarantee that he would take the state of Michigan. I thought that was quite surprising when someone's coming here to announce and talk about Michigan that the ex-Secretary says don't necessarily count that he'd win Michigan.
What did he ever do to her?
I do not know that. I just want to bring that up. You're talking about a little tension here. That was one of the quotes this week from ex-Secretary of State.
Is President Obama a shoo-in to win?
No, I don't think he's a shoo-in to win. I wouldn't say if he were standing here, he'd say he's a shoo-in to win. It's a constantly evolving now.
Who would he fear the most as a candidate?
Who would he
fear the most if you were in the office?
Yeah, I think that the biggest concern really isn't a person. It's called the economy.
Yes.
And that he has to run, much like Governor Granholm did in her reelection campaign, against a backdrop where we're not, even though things might be ticking up, having a job-full recovery. And so I think that the Republican Party is soul-searching, thrashing about. You have candidates of all different stripes and persuasions, and they can have that battle while he works hard for people. What I'll say is the Congress has made the contrast a lot different. I mean, a lot is brought it to the fore here that's been helpful since the midterm elections, whether it's Medicare or health care. Or other such issues, the fights over what the principles should be around the budget. President Obama's looking like he's working for everyday people.
Yeah, and the magic number for Jill is she's saying the fact it's 8. Will unemployment get down to 8%? That's the magic number. When they look at where Ronald Reagan got reelected, it was 8%. So once he starts breaking below 9% on unemployment, that's when the Democrats are saying, okay, now it's going to be a hard time to beat him. But he's not there yet.
On the drive up, well, I shouldn't say it was on the drive up. Yesterday, I saw a Facebook posting from Governor Granholm. She put a link to a story that said that Michigan's one-state recession is definitely over. The article was called, "Is Michigan's Economic Recovery Real?" Well, if she had a third term like Governor Engler, she would be standing here at this conference saying, we're on the way out of it.
Absolutely.
But she's not going to get any credit for that.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if that's true. There was the uptick in the economy the last quarter that she served in office, and there are a lot of people who want to make sure the record's set straight.
Yeah.
So I think certainly among people who travel this conference, who pay attention to figures and numbers, like my friend Ed here, will know that, in my opinion, she set the state back on track in terms of diversifying the economy. And I actually hope that despite all of the focus on the budget, that the governor and folks currently in office will take a look at that approach and keep in place some of the elements of that plan, because we do need to diversify our economy in order to keep having the kind of recovery we're having.
There's actually been pushback on the new governor, Governor Snyder, that is the fact that where is our diversity? Because economic gardening is good for the state, but that's predominantly small business that adds one job at a time. Without diversity, you don't add the large number of jobs at a time, which Michigan needs going forward. So there's going to be pushback. And as remember, President Bush is taking claim for Osama bin Laden's death, because he set it in stage back a number of years ago. So why can't Governor Granholm claim that she set the stage of what's happening today?
Jill, the election of Governor Snyder, well, let's just talk about the fact that he won the primary in the first place. Did that surprise you?
It didn't surprise me.
No?
No, I saw that he would be able to run up the middle. He was a self-funder. He was able, therefore, to play by a different set of rules. I think you and I might have talked about this in the past. So while there was a robust sort of fight for the right, it's an open primary in Michigan, and it astounds me that journalists and others forget that fact. So many people who are just looking for something new and different, and he is an appealing person said, I'm going to cast my lot with this guy. I
Yeah,
wasn't
and
surprised.
300,000 people who typically vote in the Democratic primary, which are independents, they weren't Democrats, switched because there was no real activity because of lack of money on the Democratic side. The independent says, well, I'm going to vote on the Republican side. So if you look at all the votes that Snyder got, I can count by precinct. Everybody traditionally voted in the Democratic primary, not Democrats, but independent, decided that's how Snyder won. Because as she said, the conservatives were fighting for the right, but there's nobody in the middle.
Is that why his approval rating isn't so hot?
Yes, because the group that he won on is now saying, what are you doing?
They might be saying, what have they done? What have I done? I pulled the lever for him. Not me, but I mean,
Yeah, but no one.
if
no
they
one,
were swayed that way, right?
Yeah, but they don't take the personal blame. They're looking. They were looking for change. He represented change, but the question is that the kind of change that they want? It's the same thing with Republicans in Congress. The public said, "I want change." Not necessarily they want you to take away my Medicare, or that's what the perception is. So change is different than what you're doing.
Don't move my cheese.
Yes.
Right.
The fact that he didn't debate. Some people would say that Governor Snyder was purposely vague about the things he was going to do when he got into office, and he's doing them now. Is that how you see it as a Democratic strategist?
I don't think he was purposely vague. In fact, I think that he said very much what he would do. He was going to give a $1.7 billion tax cut to business. And I think the issue is that people don't understand what that means. And so now that they understand the ramifications of that, the deep cuts that needed to be made to education and to the EITC, the working poor, those kinds of things, people say, oh, now I get what that means. I don't think about the most important disagreement that he was vague at all.
No, he was very specific on that. Your question is, did he give all the details? He said he was going to do, and he did that. Remember, he's the CEO. So he's going to tell you what he's going to do. How he gets there, he's not going to tell you, but he's going to tell you what he's going to do.
You were with the Michigan Education Association for a short while.
Yes.
What happens next on the governor's agenda? After all, he wants to reinvent Michigan, and he also wants to reinvent education here. That'll be another form of detail.
Well,
that
you
we'd
got
like
to.
to
This
see.
is kind of amazing in politics. Everybody who gets elected to office claims that they know how to solve the educational problem. So it's automatic that the next governor to say, I'm the educational expert. President Bush did that when he became office. That's where we got raised to the top. So, yes, he's going to make some changes based on what he views what business believes should happen in education. But no one ever talks to the kids or talks to the teachers. It's kind of amazing. There's no conversation ever with teachers or kids on what has to happen in the classroom.
The end users.
That's correct.
Will that business model apply, you think, to the classroom?
We already know that it doesn't work. There's been plenty of examples. Matter of fact, even the Chicago success that we hear about how we came about, even Chicago, I was in Chicago on Tuesday talking to people on education because there's some things I do. And in fact, even they're having troubles with the model that they set up that's being adopted here across the United States. Business does not work in schools because remember, we don't have business and kids are not a production line. When you run out of money, you can't stop having kids.
Till they start eating.
That's correct.
That's a production line.
Yes.
You're going back downstate today to meet a famous friend?
Oh, I am. Yep, you were so good. You did good research. I'm going to
It
go
was late,
see.
but I remember.
I'm going to go see my friend Kathleen Sebelius, the former governor of Kansas, now the secretary of HHS. I knew her before she was the governor of Kansas, so she'll be here in Michigan for the evening, and we're going to have dinner.
All right. We have a safe trip down. We'll miss you here on the island, and you're in for the duration.
I'm
on
here for the
Sarpos?
duration as always.
All right, with his ear to the ground,
Yes.
getting the heartbeat. Thank you both very much
Thank
for the
you.
early start this morning. I sure appreciate it very
Sure.
much. Jill Alper will talk again very soon, principal with the Dewey Square Group, and Ed Sarpolis from Target Insights. It's Michael Patrick Shields, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, Clark Hill, AARP, Family Resource Centers, and Health Partners. We're in the lobby of Grand Hotel at the Detroit Regional Chamber Policy Conference. More of the fun and famous people you've come to know on this program when we get back.